I'm Matt McLean in the Show Me Live Weather Center, and thanks so much for joining us. We do have a tornado warning, a bit of an impromptu, but it is confirmed. A tornado is apparently on the ground. A radar-confirmed tornado remains in effect until 3:30 p.m. for central St. Charles and St. Louis counties and the central St. Louis city proper itself, moving to the northeast at 35 miles per hour. St. Louis, Florissant, Chesterfield, University City, Baldwin, Kirkwood, Maryland Heights, Hazelwood, Webster Groves, Ferguson, but you know the drill. The basic area of where this is moving to, as well as the Scott Joplin Historic Site, one of the state parks there mentioned in the warning itself. Taking a look at the live radar right now, we are seeing what we do expect to be, which is a lot of rotation that's going on, pretty strong rotation, as a matter of fact, with regard to this particular storm. So this, again, is a radar confirmed tornado on the ground, at least as far as the radar is concerned at this point. And it is something that they are issuing this particular warning about, and going to make sure that every aspect of everything is going to make sense with regard to all this. So let me very quickly go in. Apologies, I've got multiple things going on behind the scenes around me as we prepare to take over for the radio station as well. So there's a lot there that's going on. But for those of you joining us online, this is kind of what we're looking at here. Take a little bit of a slice of the storm itself, look at some of the heights of this particular storms as well, showing some really quite a bit of activity there. That is an area of concern. This is certainly something that you're going to want to really monitor very carefully right now. And if you are in the path of this storm, with it is again confirmed on the ground as far as the radar is concerned, this is something that you are going to want to take into sincere consideration at this point. So very quickly, before we allow the radio station audience to join in, which is getting ready to go in here, for those of you on social, and don't worry, that doesn't mean we're going anywhere. You're watching us on Facebook, you're watching us on our YouTube channels. This is where we're going to stay. It's going to sound a little odd because we're going to breach into regularly scheduled programming as well. We also, by the way, have a flash flood warning, and that is also somewhat dangerous for central St. Charles and northwestern St. Louis County until 4:30 this afternoon. Flash flooding apparently already taking place as far as the radar is concerned. Now, with regard to the other aspect, obviously an observed tag on this, which just simply means that the tornado is apparently on the ground at this point as far as the radar is concerned. So we are going to pop into our radio station feed here in just a few seconds, and then I'm just basically going to re-explain what we've got going in there as well. And so for those of you just on there, just stick with us for just a moment, and I'm going to reintroduce myself, and then we're going to continue on with this coverage. Good afternoon. I'm Matt McLean in the Show Me Live Weather Center. We're interrupting our regularly scheduled programming with a tornado warning that has now been issued across portions of the coverage area. It is an observed tornado as well. This is for central St. Charles and central St. Louis counties, as well as St. Louis City proper. This is a radar-confirmed tornado that is apparently on the ground, according to the National Weather Service. And it is a tornado-producing storm located over Chesterfield, moving to the northeast at around 35 miles an hour. If you are in the city of St. Louis, as well as Florissant, Chesterfield, University City, Baldwin, Kirkwood, Maryland Heights, Hazelwood, Webster Groves, Ferguson, Manchester, Creve Coeur, Overland, Clayton, Jennings, St. Anne, Bridgeton, Bellefontaine, Neighbors, Town and Country, and Berkeley, I should say, this is moving in your general direction. For those of you listening by radio at this point, this is what we're going to be looking at. The leading edge of the storm that's producing a radar-confirmed tornado has just begun to make its way along I-270 and I-64 interchange, if that gives you any familiarity, as well as I-270 and 364 Page Avenue along I-270. Now, this is, again, moving off to the east, so Maryland Heights, Creve Coeur, De Pere, moving on top of you right now. Chesterfield, Baldwin, you're under the gun currently. The area of rotation at this point is not so simple to pick out. There are some potential areas that we are talking about here with regard to possibly a radar-confirmed situation near the Maryland Heights area. Let me go over to a little bit more of a storm relative velocity. It is entirely possible, at the very least, some high winds, severe winds moving through Maryland Heights at this point. The Weather Service indicating it is a radar-confirmed tornado, but that doesn't mean folks in Westwood are going to get out of the danger zone as well, as far as Ladue especially. This is, again, a warning that is moving in for a storm that is moving in your direction. I'm going to flip it over to see if we see any potential debris that is going to be taking place with this, and for right now, let me get that off the screen there for just a moment. For the Maryland Heights area, a lot of ground clutter, not a lot of truth to what we are seeing currently. Let me raise it up just a little bit, the tilt, and see if we are able to see anything, since we are so darn close to the radar site in Weldon Spring, I should say. This is moving in and around that area. Not really seeing anything as far as debris goes. Flipping it back over on that relative velocity to see what we are looking at. And again, the areas of at least obvious concern at this point approaching the Maryland Heights area, as well as possibly Westwood. So for those of you in and around that area along I-270, and yeah, we're starting rush hour, I know that. So basically, if you're in Bridgeton, hang out there for a while. If you are just south of De Pere, maybe in the Valley Park area, do not head north on 270 for a little while. And if you happen to be heading east from, let's say, Chesterfield toward downtown, don't. Take a break there for just a moment. Give yourself a little bit of time and let this storm pass through. Now this is an updated tornado warning. It's back to just simply being radar-indicated rotation. Still something to take seriously, though, capable of producing a tornado over Maryland Heights. So what we were looking at is exactly what we were seeing as far as some very strong rotation sitting over Page Avenue right now, moving toward Marine Avenue and the I-270 Page Avenue interchange. This is going to go just off to the north between Dorset and Page Avenue, and it's going to make its way toward the east at around northeast, I should say, at around 35 miles an hour. So exactly what we were thinking as far as rotation is exactly what the Weather Service is reporting as being at one point a radar-confirmed tornado. It is a little bit on the loose side with regard to a rotation. I'm going to put this into motion and see what we can see out of all of this. And for the most part, because it is so close to the radar site, it is very difficult to find out. Let me go on to base velocity here. Bear with me for just a moment. That is about 5 minutes old. Let's see if the Tilt 2 can give me just a little bit better clearance there of what's going on. Yeah, that's still about 5 minutes old, but still, nevertheless, it is indicating a lot of activity that's going on there. I wonder if Tilt 3, which is really close to the radar scene, it is also about 5 minutes old. Let's go to the high-res velocity and do more of the same and see if we can get something that is going to be just slightly, and it's not. So we're going to go back over to the storm velocity at this point, which is fairly accurate right now. So that is kind of what we're looking at. That's the basic gist of it all. As far as any kind of a major situation that's going on, but we're going to keep it right here. Now let me go back over to the reflectivity. And so this area, little bit of an inflow notch. This could be on the front end of the storm. In fact, the Weather Service agrees that it is on the front end of the storm at this point. And so this is already moving over Maryland Heights. We're looking for a bit of an update here from the Weather Service to kind of propagate that. We have a second tornado warning as well. This one, because the way that the tornadoes, we always say this on the air, tornadoes have a mind of their own and can do whatever they want, pretty much, for the most part, within storms, and they can move and morph around. This is either a secondary set of rotation or the same area, but we now have a tornado warning for northeastern St. Charles County and north central St. Louis County until 4 o'clock. St. Charles, St. Peters, Florissant, Alton, Maryland Heights, Hazelwood, Godfrey, Bridgeton, West Alton, Portage, Dessau, and Orchard Farms moving in your neck of the woods, and as well as the First Missouri State Capitol historic site there in the St. Charles area. That is moving in and around, moving toward you. So this is, for the most part, kind of what you're looking at here. I'm not too impressed with the St. Louis radar right now as far as timing, so bear with me. I'm going to pull from a different source here. Let's see if we can pick up maybe the Lincoln. That actually does help a little bit, and that is a lot more updated, but it is far enough away from the Lincoln, Illinois radar site that I think we may have a little bit of a trouble in seeing. No, we've got some definite rotation going on right there. And then all of a sudden, oh, because it flipped over. You bear with me here, making sure that we've got everything that we need to have here with regard to that. No, definitely seeing a little bit an area of rotation even from the Lincoln, Illinois site, because the St. Louis site is showing a small delay in its returns. This is less than 60 seconds old. So that area of rotation remains just to the west of Maryland Heights along Page Avenue. If you are in, let's say, Pattonville, Edmondson, Woodson Terrace, Breckenridge Hills, as well as Bridgeton, this is moving in your area right now. Will be moving if it's not already there, so hopefully you have taken shelter. We are also seeing what the National Weather Service, it looks like 2 areas of rotation right now that they are taking. I just drew that on my screen. We're talking about just southwest of St. Charles, near the St. Peter's Harvester area, right along again Page Avenue, Highway 364. If you're not from the area, we try to give both accountabilities, because you're going to see a lot of state highway signs 364 that might be more helpful for you than just giving the local names for that. But that is Page Avenue, and that's what's moving off in a northeasterly direction. Let me flip back over and hope that the St. Louis radar has caught up now. It's been pummeled pretty heavily over the past 30 minutes or so, and that is creating a little bit of a lag time in some of that radar site. Kansas City is definitely out, so we're going to go back over to the Lincoln site and rely on that, because it is picking up some rotation, albeit it is toward the threshold or limit of what that radar can really kind of safely show at this particular point. So for those of you just joining us, my name is Matt McLean. This is Show Me Live. If you happen to be driving, please don't be watching us. Download the Show Me Live app in your Google and Apple stores, and Show Me Live Radio. Just type that in. The app will pop up. Download it and listen as you're driving throughout the metro area. If you happen to be watching us on socials, cell phones, and whatnot, obviously, you've got and also on your televisions, anything that will stream onto our YouTube channels, you should be able to find that as well. So for those of you in and around this area, this is kind of what we are looking for. Let me go back over to the reflectivity at this point, and it is not easy to point out. Props and hats off to the National Weather Service forecasters, because this is not an obvious situation, nor did we have any watches out in advance of this storm. This is catching a lot of people by surprise because of that. There was only a slight chance and a very low chance of severe weather today, and here we are. We suddenly have 2 tornado warnings in the St. Louis metro area at this point in time, and moving off again in an easterly, northeasterly direction. So for those of you in the metro area right now, this is kind of what's happening. Both are back to being radar indicated situations. Still don't have an update from that. Let me do one thing here. Let me make sure that we are going to, let me get one more thing here. Bear with me. I just want to make sure that we are getting the most up-to-date information on this, and I want to make sure that the computer is cooperating with me on this as well. So right now, Nope, that is the most up to date. So there may be an issue with the St. Louis radar at this point. We should be having we should be getting the same as any other news media organization when it comes to information from radar sites. So that is a little bit of an area of concern to see if there is something maybe going on with transmission or communication, since the radar site has been pummeled with a lot of storm activity over the last 20 or 30 minutes. The Lincoln, Illinois site, radar site, is still able to provide us with some. This is what we are showing right now, and this is the area of concern for both. So let me go back over to the storm reflectivity. It looks like we've got another sweep, another slice that's been taken out of all of this. And yeah, there's some very obvious areas of rotation with this. It's not moving very quickly at all. But it is showing moving to the northeast at 20 miles an hour for one tornado warning, and then one at looking at 35 miles an hour for the other, and that is kind of what we're looking at right now. In fact, the Storm Prediction Center indicating a probability of a watch is less than 20%. They aren't even planning on issuing a tornado watch at this point. It's just a very odd situation that we have going on with regard to the weather, but this is proof. Storms can happen at a moment's notice without a lot of warning, and this is that kind of afternoon that we are having. By the way, we've also got a flash flood warning in effect for central St. Charles County as well as northwestern St. Louis County until 4:30. Doppler radar indicated thunderstorms producing heavy rain from Cottleville to St. Peters. Flash flooding is ongoing or expected to begin shortly. Flash flooding again taking place through there. So in areas that normally flood, they're going to definitely be on that kind of a situation right now. Let me flip back over to St. Louis and keep the fingers crossed. We are still sitting on a lag and a delay there. So let me pop back over to the Lincoln, Illinois site here. Let me find it. There it is. And try to get as best information as we can. The Paducah site is right at the fringe as well. So they've really strategically placed these right where they can, in theory, cover fairly well. So this, again, certainly an area of concern. And we do still have the radar indicated tornado warnings for both areas right now. And I'm going to go back over to the reflectivity again, still sitting there. Let me do one thing. Bear with me here for just a moment. I'm going to reboot things on the computer side, not a full reboot, just some software. Let me see if that's going to make things any better. I just want to make sure it's not on our end. And I have done so, and unfortunately it is not on our end, or at least it doesn't seem to be at this point. There is the radar again on your screens as well, and that is going to give you everything that you need as far as the information, but we are seeing a little bit of a delay, and I'm not really sure what's going on with regard to that. This is out of the Paducah site. We may have a little bit more information going on there. Hopefully we'll get some more, but that storm did move through the Weldon Spring area where the radar for St. Louis and surrounding area is located. So maybe there's some kind of a power outage or something that's going on there. We just simply don't know. It may just simply be a fluke somewhere else, a little bit of a transmission line issue. But we do have these radar indicated warnings at this particular point. I'm going to do one of two things. I'm going to pull them both open. For those of you watching, the tornado warning for the St. Charles area is on your left-hand side of your screen. We do have fresh information from the Weather Service in St. Louis now, so great. And then the tornado warning on the right-hand side of your screen is actually for the city of St. Louis, Clayton, Jennings, Ferguson, Florissant, basically St. Louis City, and on to the north of northern St. Louis County, I should say. Now, let me go and see. Maybe we've got some fresh information. Well, it's still looking pretty late at this point, but at least we have back to receiving this information out of the Weldon Spring site, and it is fairly fresh. And so that is an area that is about 5 minutes old. It's still running behind. So that leading edge, if you're seeing on my screen, I'm kind of moving my mouse back and forth, is probably around the Ferguson, Florissant, just east and north of St. Charles as well. And so that, let me go ahead and go back over to the other site. Let's move it on through and see what we've got going on. And that is a little bit more up to date, just slightly up to date as we've got going on. We've got a new flood advisory that has just been issued as well for the Eureka area, all the way through basically portions of Franklin County, east of St. Clair on Highway 30, and parts of Jefferson County and South St. Louis, southwestern St. Louis County, and possibly a little bit of southern. Let me look at that. Just a little bit of southern St. Charles County as well. Southeastern Franklin, northwestern Jefferson, and southwestern St. Louis. So no, I was right the first time. So, all right. So for those of you just joining us, we do have 2 tornado warnings here for the St. Louis metro area. That's what we've got going on. I'm zooming back out so you can kind of see. I'm going to flip everything over to a what's called a multi-mode site, which means we've got radars from all over the place. And it's not nearly as sensitive as you can see, but it does kind of show that area that we have a lot of thunderstorm activity, but even beginning to develop across portions of central, southern, and southeastern Missouri. None of those are storm warned at this particular point. Let's go ahead and go on back to the St. Louis site, which is, again, getting some transmission issues. We're approaching old data at this point, so we are working, again, to try to get you the most up-to-date information. That one is a little bit newer. I doubt that Springfield, it is picking it up, but it is also getting just a little bit of a lag there in what's taking place. So not really sure what's going on with that particular lag. We just can only hope that at this point we get the most sensitive information that we possibly can, going down to different sites right now that I think may stand a chance. That is a little less than 5 minutes old, but boy, talk about being on the fringe. That is, so if it's about 5 minutes and moving off to the north and northeast at around 20 to 25 miles an hour, then this leading edge that I'm kind of holding through the Ferguson area and through the Wilkie area, basically right over St. Charles now, about 5 minutes from now, that end is beginning to exit out. And so folks in Old Jamestown, Whitecorn, Portage de Sioux, that area, that's moving toward you. Also for you folks in Ferguson, Castle Point, Bellefontaine Neighbors, Delwood, Calverton Park, Jennings, this is moving in your area as well. And so just off basically to the north of what we have going on. Let me try one more thing here, and I'm going to go over. We sometimes have this a little bit of a glitch that's been cropping up over the last several months with regard to the National Weather Service radar sites. So I am going to actually go over to the National Weather Service sites themselves, and I'm going to see if I can pull open if they are mentioning that there happens to be any issues, just to kind of see what we've got going on. And their own websites are also delayed, which is very frustrating. I'm not going to lie, but sometimes technology happens. But their websites are also indicating a delay at this point in some of this, what should be live radar activity. So we're going to do our very best and give you all the information that we can. We have a tornado warning that's scheduled to expire for St. Louis County and City. That is going to be going on roughly for about 3:30. Then we've also got one. Hey, I will take that live sweep all day long. There we go. It is still running a little bit behind schedule. That is unfortunate, but it is what it is. All right, so the tornado warning for St. Louis County and City has been allowed to expire. Let me see if we can pull open the information. For the St. Charles and North Central St. Louis County, that one is set to expire at 4 p.m. They are still holding true to that. And just about 6 minutes ago, they said it remains in effect. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Bridgeton, moving to the northeast at 20 miles per hour. So this area of radar site, that is the latest sweep, which again, still sitting at about 8 minutes delayed. And you saw the actual stat sheet sweep, those of you watching. That just seems to be a little bit on the odd side, but I've been noticing again a few glitches over the past several months with some of the data. So that is unfortunate, and it's really beyond our control, unfortunately, at this point. So let me try one more, and let's go back up to the Lincoln site. Nope, it is also running on a slight delay. So this is kind of where we're seeing right now. This is the area of concern. We do still have one active tornado warning. We're going to have to go with that. Let me go over to the Weather Service site itself, actual website, and see if there's anything else that it can tell us at this point. And as of right now, no, it is not. So let me go back over here and try one more time, see what we can come up with just to make sure that we have everything that we are able to get as far as live as possible. And they are still running on that delay even on their own website. So that is unfortunate. So all right, so here's the best that we can do. Those of you in this area, I'm just going to do it this way. I don't like showing 10-minute-old information because it's very misleading for those of you watching. This is the area of concern. You know if it's storming outside where you are. And if you happen to be listening to us, basically along and a line north of 270. So U.S. Highway 67 north of Spanish Lake as it is crossing the Mississippi River, making sure that I've got all that there. Yeah, as it is crossing, actually, as it is crossing the Missouri River and then eventually into the Mississippi River as well. Both bridges there on 67, the Missouri and Mississippi River bridges. That is where the area of concern, all the way to near Portage de Sioux and over toward the Long Lake area, Portage Road and Long Lake area. That is the northern or the most farthest out that this particular tornado warning goes. Then what we're looking at right now is the back end of the warning, which is sitting right over the city of St. Charles, kind of dividing St. Charles and St. Peter's right down the line along I-70. Gardnerville, Elm Point, Boshertown, cul-de-sac, all of that in that area happens to be under this tornado warning, plus a flash flood warning on top of it all. So that is kind of what we're looking at, and we are still sitting on a 7 to 8 minute delay. Again, I'm going to do my very best with you all on this to give you the best and most up-to-date information. I just really wish whatever it is that seems to be the technical glitch could be fixed on wherever that glitch is coming from. But this is what we are looking at right now. And that is the area of concern. So those of you in this area right here, Portage de Sioux, West Alton, Whitecorn, Old Jamestown, Elm Point, St. Charles, all need to be seeking shelter as if there is a tornado on the ground right now. If you happen to be driving in this area, basically the warning almost extends and goes almost right along I-270, just past the Hazelwood exit if you're heading from Illinois or the airport and making your way toward Bridgeton area there. So that is an area of concern as well. So more or less, this is kind of what we are looking at right now. I'm very just trying to figure it all out with regard to why the radar sites are really experiencing a lot of issues. I put out a message trying to see if I can get information for you on that. So far, I've not been able to get any info back on you to be able to share with you. But that is kind of what we are looking at. Again, that's about 8 minutes ago, and we'll kind of see what happens on all of that and kind of go from there. So those of you who happen to be watching, that is a slight new update right there, 3:27 p.m. So we're going to go with that, and we're going to hope that there's a correlation there with the basic relative velocity. Yes. All right. Well, this is 5 minutes old, but we're going to take it, doggone it, because that is at least something. We do have an area of pretty high winds basically straddling that tornado warning line between Hazelwood and Florissant. If that's 5 minutes old, probably on top of Florissant right now. Then we're moving into the areas of an area of concern. So when you see, again, you've probably seen other folks say something very similar, but when you see differing colors, the reds and the greens on our particular maps start to meet, well, and let me actually just go ahead and just simply draw where the area of rotation of concern is at. Now, again, this is about 5 minutes old, so everything that you're seeing right here on your map is probably about right in here as of this point. And I know that's probably tough to imagine, but basically shift all of that over to right there where X meets the spot. and you're going to probably have a little bit more of an accurate situation since we're talking about radar here that's about 5 minutes old, radar returns, but it's better than nothing as of this point. So let me see. I know for the most part it can't be on our end simply because we are getting the updated warnings. They're pairing off the radar site. They're going through and doing everything that they need to be doing. So it just must be a technological glitch someplace else at this point. And we're going to just kind of keep moving right on through there and seeing what we're able to pull out. So on the, there we go. That's 327, 5 minutes old, and let's hope. Let's move this right on through. So right around the Black Walnut, Music Ferry, Old Jamestown area. Let me go back over the relative velocity here and see and hope. No, that's way old. Base velocity, I'll take what I can get at this point. High res velocity. And again, that is an area of concern. So let me go down to the coalition here. Basically, correlation, I should say. Not really seeing anything as far as debris. This was actually taken at 3:30 this afternoon, so we're looking at about a 5 minute old. Not seeing anything huge that would indicate any kind of a debris ball that would indicate that this is on the ground. That doesn't mean it's not. A very small pencil-like tornado wouldn't necessarily throw up a whole lot of debris, but you know what? If it's going right over your property, it's going to create a lot of damage. So at 3:33 p.m., 2 minutes ago, the tornado warning remains in effect until 4 o'clock for northeastern St. Charles and north central St. Louis counties. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Hazelwood. It's exactly what we were talking about, or near Florissant, moving to the northeast at 25 miles an hour. Radar indicated rotation. That's what we've got going on. So I understand that the station has just gone silent. Let me see what's going on with that. The radio station side, thanks for letting me and giving me a heads up on that to see what's going on. And see if there's some kind of an issue that is taking place there as well. It seems to be functioning, but for whatever reason, it may have frozen up on that regard. So we're going to work on that aspect and see what we can do. All right, so bear with me here for just a moment. I have lost the ability there to have a lot of stuff going on there with the actual radio station. So a little bit of a technical glitch on our end on top of it all. So there we go. Everything can happen as we all know it. So the area of rotation as of about 6 minutes ago, exactly where the Weather Service was talking about, near the Hazelwood area in Florissant. It's interesting that they have drawn the tornado watch polygon as they have, because the main area of rotation is really on the lower part of the polygon that they themselves have drawn. And so that is something there that is a bit unique in that regard also. All right, let me go back over. Let's see if we've got any additional information. Let me go over to a different site. We're just going to keep pushing through on some things until we can give you the best and most reliable information that we can give to you as of this point, and just hope. So let me try the Paducah site here. That's 331. Let's try the Springfield site, 328. That is 3:30 in the afternoon. So we definitely seem to have, again, that lag that is appearing. Once again, it may be a National Weather Service server issue for all that we know, but that's kind of what we've got going on right now. So that is where we are. Let me see if I can do one more thing here. Checking once again with the National Weather Service site, and then I'm going to pull up a totally different radar just to see if there's any, and I'm doing that off the air because we don't have broadcasting rights for that one. So let me pull open and see if that one is going to give me any additional more up-to-date information. Again, trying to make sure we've given you the best information possible. And as of right now, the answer is we have an extended tornado warning, and it should be popping up on this screen at any moment. But we do have an extended tornado warning now. Bear with me here. No, my correction. It's just in effect until 4. Looking at a different site there, it's colored slightly differently there. So And this website is also showing the same exact lag. So it is not us. It is just where we are right now with the technology at hand. So we're going to keep doing our very best. This is where we are with technology right now, unfortunately. And it's been this way, like I said, for the past several months, off and on. Oh, there's at least a 334. So this is the area. We're looking at a couple of different spots here. At the very least, we're looking at some fairly gusty high winds that we are seeing right here. But again, you have areas of rotation that are also indicating here where the greens and the reds are kind of meeting with one another. This is not a day where it's super easy to pick out, but it is there. The rotation is there. This could even, let me at least check. We are sitting at about a 5-minute-old information again, but the very least I can do, and that's a little bit older. There may even be a touch of hail in this as well. Let me get into the echo tops here. And now it's just so delayed, it's not going to really matter a whole lot. So let's go back out and let's take a look and see what we've got going on and see if we're able to pick anything out on any of this and kind of look at it here for just a moment. And as of right now, I'm putting that into motion. Bear with me here. Let me go ahead and put it where it's actual north so that it looks more familiar to you watching. And that is not it. Bear with me. There we go. I'm determined to make sure we get you the best information that we can. I really am. All right, so that's kind of where everything's at. I'm just kind of looking at everything. It's really not anything to write home about with regard to obvious. There is a little bit of rotation there that you can almost see in the little spinning in the atmosphere when you put it into 3D like that. And for whatever reason, I am losing my ability to control that as well. So it is one of those days, but we are going to make it, and we are going to make it through. We've got a radar indicator. We're going to keep it that way, and it looks like it is going to remain in effect apparently for another 19 minutes unless they choose to drop that early at this point. And right now it doesn't look like that is going to be the case. So let's go ahead. 336, that is 4 minutes old. I'll take it. That is brand new information. As far as what we're able to get there, 334, that's getting to where it's a little bit older. Base velocity, 334. Yeah, everything is just running on that delay. So it does make it a little bit more difficult to figure out what in the world is going on and kind of go from there in regard to all of that. So, okay, so that's what we've got going on. It doesn't look impressive on the radar. You can see it doesn't look impressive on the radar, and the radar that we are pulling from is the actual St. Louis radar, the Weldon Spring radar at this point. So it is not anything huge to write home about. If we were going to start drawing notches, loosely speaking, it could be any one of this particular area right in this generalized point, especially after you get a bit of an inflow notch, possibly. And again, really tough to figure this out without being able to see. But the possibility of where you may be seeing things, it could be that exact spot right there that I'm drawing on. But again, if you are in this warning area, we are dealing with stuff that is a little bit older than it ought to be, technology-wise. And I just mean the radar returns specifically, and it seems to be it's just a problem, period. No matter what source I'm pulling from, including the National Weather Service website itself, everything is on a slight delay than it normally is. And this has been happening a few times over the last several months. Unfortunately, it's during a tornado warning at this point now, and we really need that information to be as up-to-date as possible. So this is 3:37 p.m. It's 3:43 currently. That was at 3:34. And that does kind of, in loose agreement here, this area that we're talking about, a potential rotation. Again, some high winds right in this area that I just circled, kind of that really magenta that kind of jumps out at your screen and on into the black little square dots that you're seeing there on the bottom of that warning area. But really, the main possible focus for rotation is more or less going to be right there. So that I just circled, that greens and the reds in that area. So that is about 4 minutes old. We got a brand new update. I'm just going to have to eyeball it. This is not necessarily the best way of trying to do it there, but I really do think at this particular point that if we're going to have any kind of a rotation, it's going to be somewhere in this general vicinity. And again, we're talking about information's about 4 minutes old, so more or less it is making its way up to right in this area right now. And we're just going to have to wait and see exactly how that transpires and whether or not they issue an additional warning on the situation at hand. So let me back out here for just a moment. Let's find out what's going on. Let's make sure we've given you the absolute best information that we can and kind of go from there. The most up-to-date information that we are able to ascertain is a tornado warning, again, that goes into effect until 4 p.m. The area of rotation, though, is set to begin making its way out of the warned area. So folks in Alton, Godfrey, Elsa, this is Bethalto, this is moving into your area if this storm is going to hold itself together. And I'm just going to do a little bit more of a blanket information. If you happen to be in the storm warned area because of the radar lag, that seems to be the case no matter what source we are pulling a radar from, off the air, off to the side where you all are not able to see it directly from the National Weather Service. It just seems to be a technological glitch at this point where things are running a little bit on the slow side. So now, because we don't have an up to the second type of a situation to really give you that information about, now it's time to kind of go into that extra protection mode. So if you happen to be in the area that I'm kind of highlighting in the blue at this point, you're going to want to consider very quickly taking cover to determine as it's moving through to see exactly what's going to take place. Is it on the ground? Is it not on the ground? Well, we don't really entirely know given the information that we're able to gather from the radar sites. Let me try the Lincoln site one more time and see if that's going to give us anything else. That is about 6 minutes old, so it's slightly newer, but not by a lot, and it's pretty much the same case. Let's see if it's giving me any velocity. It is showing an area of rotation. It's going to look a little bit differently because it's moving toward the Lincoln site and away from the National Weather Service in St. Louis site, so that's why it looks a touch different. That's even more than 10 minutes old. That's irrelevant at this point. That's about 6 minutes old, and again, it's just we are seeing that area where we were circling. That is kind of what we're seeing at this point as a potential there. So those of you in Alton, those of you in Godfrey, you're not under a warning right now, but it is not impossible that may change very shortly. Just stick with us. We're going to give you all that information as best as we can, and we're going to go from there and see exactly what we are able to give as far as information goes. Makes it a little bit more difficult to do a complete broadcast when a lot of the information that you rely on is not necessarily as accurate as it could be through no fault of ours, I think we've confirmed it through 5 different sources, and just the information itself is lagging. Not entirely sure why. So the flash flood warning, we do have an observed tag on that. So those of you in the flash flood warning, which is central St. Charles and northwestern St. Louis counties, the Weather Service says the flash flooding is being observed by emergency management. So we do have some flooding issues as well on top of a potential tornado. So keep all of this in mind. We're talking basically this area, this green box, as I pull this information off for you to be able to see it. This green box right here, that rectangular box, that is where the observed flash flooding is taking place. The red flashing box is the tornado warning, and this in the Eureka, St. Clair area is just a flood advisory. It doesn't mean that you aren't getting some flooding. It just means it's slightly lower as far as severity at this point than the observed flash flooding that's taking place in St. Louis and St. Charles counties. All right, let's see what we've got going on here. We're sticking at information that's about 8 minutes old from this site, and let's go ahead and single ourselves right on back to the Lincoln, Illinois site and see that's actually about 4 minutes old. And the information that it is showing really is indicating that as far as any kind of major stuff, possible rotation, at the very least, possibly some high winds getting ready to move into Alton right now. And that is a possibility. Let me get one more. Bear with me. You're going to see a couple of things that are behind the scenes here. And I'm opening up a new window just to propagate and force some information here to see what we can get to make sure. Sometimes that will kind of trigger a few things as well. Just trying to do our very best here to give you all the information that we possibly can. All right, so those of you in and around the Alton area, Godfrey area, so far no new warnings have been issued. There could be any second now. If there is going to be one issued, the edge of rotation is beginning to reach the boundary of the polygon warning that the National Weather Service has issued. Actually, it probably already has. Again, we're sitting at about 4 minute old information now. And now that's about 3 minutes old. Starting to see a little bit more of an impressionable area, possibly, of some rotation here. In a little bit of an area that's kind of sticking out there. So let me see if we're able to get... that is high-res velocity. That is 3 minutes old. Give me just a moment. We're going to go down there. That, okay, well, for whatever reason, this one is not, but I'm going to see if I can force it to update. Okay, then I am going to move things over to a separate screen for you all to see, and we are going to, bear with me. I'm going to change screens on you for just a moment. Now you're going to be seeing one that is a little bit newer. And the area of concern and the area of rotation, as of this point in time, again, we are seeing potential there. At the very least, Alton, West Alton, Upper Alton, Godfrey, at the very least, you're going to get some high winds out of this. I think that's a safe bet as of this point in time. It kind of makes you wonder if the Weather Service is planning to issue any kind of an excess warning there to kind of cover you folks at this point, or they're seeing that it's starting to dissipate and they are not going to be issuing, and they're just going to basically let this this warning, I should say, expire and see kind of what's going on there. So let me move this radar over. It's not going to impact those of you watching right now. For the most part, and let's see what we've got here from the National Weather Service office directly. And I'm not seeing anything right now that would indicate any kind of an area. It looks like, last thing that they issued was about 15-20 minutes ago. So folks, in and around the Alton area, that warning has now been allowed to expire. We don't see anything that has taken its place. So as of this point, because we have no additional warnings for tornado activity going on right now, see if I can get a severe weather statement out of here. Nothing that I'm seeing right now. So the tornado warning has apparently been allowed to expire. I am confirming that with a couple of other sources there, radar sources, and that does seem to be the case. But folks, we are still getting the flash flooding that is observed right now in and around St. Louis and St. Charles County, northern St. Louis County. So if you are in that area and you're in an area that normally floods, this is going to be a problem for you. We do have a little bit of a storm damage there. It looks like large trees snapped, a roof or side of a garage heavily damaged, and debris strewn. That is being reported by the public, the general public. So we do have at least one report of some storm damage near the Wildwood area. So this, and now that we finally get the tornado warnings back out, we've got about a 2 minute old return there. So yeah, it looks like the storms that have prompted some warnings have been allowed to dissipate. Those of you who are watching us elsewhere, let's say in Crawford and Washington County, before we sign off here, those of you in and around that area, we are seeing that line of thunderstorm activity, a little bit of a training situation going on as we put that into motion. Maybe somebody gave the radar a swift kick in the side of some sort. Maybe it's going to work a little bit better. We can hope. But we are seeing a slight training situation, which could propagate a little bit more of a flooding situation. So you see all of this return, the radar returns kind of moving in that same generalized direction. It's technically off into a northeastern pattern, so it'll slowly shift from Rolla toward, let's say, Farmington toward Potosi, slowly shift in that direction. But the main line, as you can see, it's kind of parading right on up as of this moment from almost right along I-44. From the St. Robert, Rolla area all the way into the metro area at this point. And so this is, again, that area of concern that we are going to be monitoring for any additional warnings that may come out. But for right now, not seeing any additional warnings that have been issued, and there are no active watches right now. This is the only thing that the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma, by the way, they also had a doggone scare the past couple of days with the tornado potentially going right over their facility there in Norman, Oklahoma, that does all the issuing of watches across the country. Last check, they're saying, the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, any kind of a severe watch, pretty much unlikely across our coverage area. We do have a brand new flood advisory, and I'll get over that before we hop off the air here. That is until 5:30 for central St. Louis County, as well as central St. Louis City until 5:30. Again, Doppler radar indicating quite a bit of rain that's going on there as well. So those of you in and around the metro area, especially the St. Louis County, St. Louis City area, urban sprawl, or the urban effect, if you will, a lot of asphalt and concrete, not a lot of places for the water to go. That's what you've got going on there. And so just kind of be on the lookout for that as well. So for right now, here's what we're going to do. We are going to go back to regularly scheduled programming. And I am going to leave the feed up for those of you watching online. I'm just going to leave this feed up for a little while so that if any additional warnings pop out, I can just throw the microphone on and we can get after it very quickly. So you'll at the very least have a radar that you'll be able to see with your own two eyes. And I'll give you even a little bit of a hint. And I can't draw it, but basically look toward the bottom there that I just circled. I'm going to take that off. Right there is the timestamp for the radar. So that's 2 minutes old at the very last frame on there. And so let me actually add a few more frames and show a little bit more of a bounce here for where these storms are coming from. They are developing, so we're going to watch this very carefully this afternoon to see if any additional warnings are issued without a lot of notice. And we will, of course, be right here to keep you up to date on that. So for now, I'm Matt McLean in the Show Me Live Weather Center. This stream is going to continue. The radar is going to continue for a little while longer. If we have any additional warnings, we will, of course, be on the audio side to start describing what's going on.